I'm going to start off with a game called No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. This is a game that I was listening to a podcast, and someone recommended this movie. Sorry, this book. Yeah, what the fuck? This game. And I was like, that sounds really good. And they didn't really mention, they were very vague about it. And I was like, excuse me. I was like, okay, let me check this out because it's cheap. And apparently it's pretty short. Originally came out in 2020 and then had a director's cut version in 2021 or something, 22. So No One Lives Under the Lighthouse is a self-described slow burn horror game. It has this PS1 style graphics art style, and where everything's very low poly, low draw distance, wobbly textures and polygons and all that. It takes place entirely on this island, this small island in, I believe, Scotland, where you are the new lighthouse keeper, and you have to you have to just do a couple tasks every night. Fill the lighthouse with, fill the light with the oil, and then do the crank so that it spins. But I think, as you can probably guess, things start to go weird. Now, the game is titled No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. And you are apparently alone on this island. However, stuff starts to happen that makes you question that. Very quickly, in fact. That you might actually not be alone. But what is on the island? What could it be? What is it doing? The game is about 2 hours long. It took me 3 hours just because I kind of take my time when I got hung up on a couple spots. But it's about 2 hours long. It's really arranged into two halves. And if that sounds curious to you, it's this intense, slow burn atmospheric game. You should go check it out. It's really cheap. It's like $6 on Steam. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers because I would like to talk about it. So, the first hour of this game is really interesting because it's you're going through the day by day on this lighthouse. There's 4 days, I believe, that go by. And you're doing lighthouse stuff, but then something weird happens, and the escalation is really good. It's really nice because you're spending a lot of time doing kind of menial stuff, and it'll be punctuated by something weird happening or something freaky that builds the tension, and it starts escalating and escalating over the course of these 4 nights until finally you hit the I guess what you'd call it, like the climax, the climactic point. And then the second hour of the game goes off the rails in such a way that I found extremely lame and disappointing, unfortunately. Yeah, it's one of those. I thought the first hour of this game was awesome, and I think if the game was just like 30... If it was just like... Okay, I guess I have to get into specifics. So, there's these little teases. There's a monster on the island. There's a presence. There's an entity on the island. And you do this the first time you ever really run into it, you ever really encounter it, is this moment where you go to the lighthouse, and one of the sandbags at the bottom of the rope they've been destroyed. The sandbags and the rope have been destroyed. So you have to walk back and forth from the storehouse to the lighthouse. Carry the rope, and then you carry the bag. You can only carry one of the bags at a time. You need 3 of them. And on your way back with the 3rd bag, suddenly screen goes black. It shows, and then it what do you say? Goes It fades back in. Yeah, that's the phrase. It fades back in. And the game goes into a second-person chase sequence. Yeah. The only time I've ever seen this is in, like, Driver San Francisco, which is a game where there's a chase scene in which you are in the perspective of, you're controlling your same character, but you're seeing it through the eyes of the car that's chasing them. This does a similar thing. You're seeing through the eyes of the monster looking at your character, and you are controlling the character, and you have to run away back to the storehouse, back to safety. And it's really cool. It's really neat. And like the one thing that I was like, you can see these kind of like either tendrils or little pincer claw type things from the edge of the screen, like the corner of the screen, like, because it's from the monster's perspective. I guess that's its appendages or whatever. And I wish it didn't have that. I wish it was just, I wish you just saw the eye, like through its eye, so you wouldn't quite have, you would have like even less of an idea of what it really is. I think that's what's so scary, is like the mystery. The mystery is so scary. The mystery is so scary in this game. Because you have no idea, is it a person? Is it a monster? What is it? And I think just getting an idea of like how tall it is, because it is taller than your character. That's cool. I think that's a neat idea. But okay, whatever. Little did I know that in the second half of the game, they would not only show the entire monster, but ask you to shoot it with a shotgun. Yeah, it goes there. So you go through all these sequences, and the last night, you finally go down into the basement. And the basement changes. It's like this little room, because one time you go in and the oil is in the room that, in the lighthouse, there's like the staircase that leads up, and then there's a door to a little room, and in the room there's the hatch to the basement. In that room is the oil. You walk in one time, the oil's not there, and you go down, and it's in the basement. And it's really fucking scary. It is extremely tense. The atmosphere is just like, it's just impeccable. It is such a creepy game. I was so creeped out playing it. And then the last night you go in, you go down to the basement, and a chase scene starts. The monster's behind you, and now it's not just this little room in the basement, it's like this whole tunnel, and you're going down, you're running down the tunnel, and I hung a left, and I ended up down in this massive underground area, or this underground like cave system, and you're just walking around, and you're seeing these skeletons, these human skeletons around this weird cave system you're walking through, and I'm like, whoa, wait, is this like a trap? Am I like a food source for this monster? Or am I the person under the lighthouse now? I thought that's where it was going. I thought it was going in the direction of the lighthouse keepers end up getting lured down underneath the lighthouse by this monster, and then and then it hunts them underneath. And the person who was trying to contact me was actually like, because you get this creepy stuff. Like, you close the door to the base, to like that room with the basement, and then you just hear this banging on the door, and then the door's locked, and you're like, like creepy stuff like that. The sound is great. I'm someone who's very sensitive to sound as a horror device. Visuals are one thing, but if you just play these kind of like loud, disconcerting noises, which this game has a lot of like these weird distorted wails and like kind of like that, those kinds of noises that'll just play like a siren, that kind of a sound, banging, or the sound of someone hitting the steps, right? That stuff is so freaky. You know, you wake up one morning and you just you hear footsteps on your roof, and the roof caves in. And you go to look in, and there's no one there. But the whole kitchen is just like a mess. And you got to go fix your roof and put everything back in place. And it's like, oh, dude, it's so just like the sound of the steps on the roof. The soundscape in the game is so good. And then you're in this, and I'm like, wow, the game. I'm probably gonna get like one more big reveal, and then the game's gonna be over. And then it keeps going. And then it keeps going. And you like turn this crank, and a door opens, like a wall opens up, and you're in like another place, and there's like a statue with a knife. And I'm like, okay, this is where the big reveal is. Or something. Or do I die? What's going on? And then it starts doing this shit where you start flashing back to the past. And you start flipping around. Like, I can't even remember like what happens because it's so random and disjointed. You just get all these like little vignettes of, oh, there used to be a bunch of more buildings here and more people who lived on the island, and then it just kind of keeps going, and then now you're in this underground giant stone complex, and it leans really hard into like Lovecraft. Whoa, do you know H.P. Lovecraft? And like this, you're in this like big stone set of bridges, and you got to find these medallions, and the monster shows up, and you just get like a full view of the monster, and the monster's chasing you, and then you got to find all the medallions, then you got to put them in this like one room, and then another wall opens up, and the game's still not fucking over. There's like another 40 minutes, and then you just keep going and going and going, and there's just more completely pointless feeling sections that like don't feel like they're saying anything. And it's just like, the monster, whoa, look at the monster again. And it's like, and then you have this whole long extended thing where you replay the game from the monster's perspective, which probably sounded really cool, but makes it really, like, completely deflates all of the horror. like, whoa, did you know that when that on that third day, when the rope and the bags got destroyed, the monster was the one who destroyed them? Yeah, I figured. You're gonna play through that. You're gonna do that now with these awful wall climbing controls that really suck. Because sometimes the monster has weird like first person tank controls, and now you're in this section where you're walking around this town. You got to figure out what to do, and it's like the game had so much momentum. The game had so much. The game really had something going on, and it just, in the last like hour and a half of my playtime, just completely fumbles it so fucking hard and gets into such lame like, look at our lore! Whoa! Guess what? It's a metaphor for the cycles of guilt. It's like I Divine Cybermancy, a game with a plot that doesn't make any fucking sense. Until you beat it like 4 times. Yeah, it's not a compliment to compare it to I like that. Yeah, it just goes so hard. And then, like, the ending is just, like, it just feels fucking random. And I know that I'm probably, oh, yeah, like, so I got the wrong ending because there's these, like, medallions that you collect throughout the game. And I guess I missed one of them. There's this chest in your room. And once you get all 4 medallions, you can unlock the chest. And I think I missed one of them, which I don't know how I did that, but I did. And the game, like, let me progress past that. So I didn't get all of them, which means I didn't open the chest. Now, inside of the chest is a shotgun, which you're supposed to fight the final boss, where you just shoot this Lovecraftian monster. But I didn't have that, so I just died, and then it put me into, like, a different ending track or something. And to be honest, this is like not a good game, I feel like, to have multiple endings. Because it was cool, like that first half was cool the first time. I don't know if I could put up with, I think it would just get really tedious to do it again. Because all that slow burn horror stuff was neat when I didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe not again. I mean, is there a chapter select? There might be. I don't really have any desire to play it again because that second half tanks the experience so hard into lame territory. And here's what's interesting. This is not technically, the game I'm talking about is not technically No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. It is No One Lives Under the Lighthouse Director's Cut. Because there was the original release was in 2020, and then they had the Director's Cut. And apparently, the Director's Cut completely overhauled the second half of the game. And I wonder, I'm almost curious enough to want to go back and play the original to see if it's less lame. Because I was really disappointed. Like the feeling of tension and horror in that first half is palpable. It's so thick. And you walk out on the third day, the rain is so intense. It's just this downpour, like you can hardly see anything. But in a funny way, the low draw distance of the game helps it because all you can see is just like the polygons of the lighthouse to serve as like your thing in the distance. Like you're seeing it through the rain and through the clouds. There's so much cool, good, like genuinely good stuff in that first half. And in the second half, there is nothing scary. I was not creeped out a single time. I was just annoyed and kind of bored and a little confused. It completely fumbles it in that second half. Really unfortunate. If you want to check it out for yourself, feel free. Again, it's like $6. But yeah, I'm curious to know if the person who recommended it played the original version or the director's cut, and how much of a difference that makes.